Hey, welcome to another episode of The Wireless Way. I'm your host, Chris Whitaker, and this is almost embarrassing for me. And I'll tell you why. Because I've been friends with this guest for a long time, people, and I just now got around to asking him to come on the show. So, first of all, Charlie Rodriguez is with me today. A lot of you know him if you're in the channel. One of the best guys, brilliant minds in the channel. Love this guy. So first of all, I'm gonna start off with apologizing, Charlie. Although you're gonna tell me I don't need to, but I'm like, why did it take so long, man? My apologies, and my apologies to you, the listener, because you're gonna like this a lot. A little bit about Charlie before I bring him on. A seasoned telecom professional with a distinguished career. Just again, hey, when I say distinguished career, man, it's like everyone's career. It's a checkerboard of a pattern of different experiences, business and professional and personal. He's got it covered, man, both on the direct side and the indirect side, with the wealth of experience in wireless, IoT, enterprise solutions, cloud, MPLS, the network, if you will, managed network services, all kinds of connectivity. A little side story. Charlie, this is not in his bio, but I'm going to add it. When we were at Comcast Business together, I was a coax circuit slinger and was told, Chris, you got to start selling fiber. I got to be honest with you. Back then, I'm like, oh my God, man, you have to be like an engineer to sell fiber or something. And Charlie flew from California to Tennessee. We did a road show and he coached me and mentored me. And at the end, I realized, okay, so this isn't really any different. It's actually easier to sell. So my technical knowledge and expertise came from this guy. Charles consistently delivered results by supporting agents and customers alike. He looks at both of them as equally important. Extensive background includes building, launching, and managing successful sales teams in startup environments, established environments, showcasing his ability to drive growth and innovation in the telecom industry. Sounds very formal, but you're a pretty formal guy, but you got a good side, right, Charlie? You're a funny guy too. Welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Hey, Chris, thank you so much. Really appreciate being here. And you know what? There's no, like you said, no apology necessary. I think this was meant to be at this point in time in our lives. Um,
Man,
you
good
mentioned that time I
words.
came out to visit you met so many years ago down in Atlanta. And when I really first met you, I really didn't even know you when you called and said, hey, I need
Yeah.
some open fiber stuff. I was like, yeah, heck yeah. I got permission to fly down and hang with you. First time I met you, loved you, good human being, and so glad we've been friends for so long. And
Oh,
I
thank
love that
you,
it
man.
continues on, my friend.
No,
Yeah.
and it will, brother. You're right. I think we're both cut from the same cloth. Yeah, I'm grateful for that as well. That was a great time. So, first question for all guests, man. We got this professional bio. We know what's on LinkedIn. Tell us the rest of the story. What's not in the bio? How did you get here?
That's a great question. Life's a funny thing, Chris. Life will give you some twists and turns, and sometimes it'll kick you. And you hear the old cliche, how do you handle diversity, tough times, and how do you get back up? This, we lost our oldest daughter to cancer about 9 years ago. And at that moment in time, prior to that, I had been struggling with alcohol. And at one point, I made a decision that enough was enough. I got help and I was able to I haven't had alcohol since September of 2016. My daughter passed away actually January Christmas Day in 2016. So
Mm,
I was able to be sober for my family at the really challenging, tough time in our lives. And I've maintained that sobriety ever since. And so the blessing that's come out of it, I know it's hard to find blessing when you lose your daughter. The blessing is that we were able to take over raising our granddaughter at that time. She was 3 years old. She's now 11 years old, and she is
wow.
just the sunshine of our lives and my motivation. And I'm just a better dad the second time around, Chris. So that's something I
Wow.
don't think anyone knows about me, but we were able to come back as a family. I was able to come back from that. And today I feel I bring a different Charlie to people, to my partners, my customers, my company, my employers, than the Charlie that was around 10 or 15 years ago.
Wow. You're right. Because I think I met that original Charlie, but even and you who you are at your core is who you are now. Yeah, the alcohol just that was a distraction, right? That was hate to say the word watering down the real Charlie because you don't think of alcohol watering down anything, but and that's a very I know we didn't even really talk much about this in our pre-show discussion, but thank you for bringing that up because that is a real problem in our society. Alcohol use, whether it be alcoholism or social drinking, day drinking, everybody's got a name for it, binging, whatever The bottom line is a poison. You mentioned you got help. Can you, what did that look like? Who helped
Yeah,
you?
so I literally found a local rehab center. It was John Muir Health here in Concord, my backyard, and I asked to sign up. They said, "Give us a week, we'll find a bed for you." And I checked in. They housed me for about a month where I was locked down, no phone, no communication with my family. After that, I went through a year of therapy, and at this point in time, we were still struggling with losing our daughter, and the cancer was really kicking in the last few months of 2016. Went through a year of therapy throughout, during and post rehab. And that therapy was positive in multiple ways. Number one, helping me overcome the struggle with alcohol. But two, gave me an outlet to voice what was going on in my life and the tragedy we were dealing with other people that had struggles in their lives. Because everyone that's an alcoholic, you'd be surprised at how many successful people struggle with alcoholics. I was in rooms with millionaires, business owners, very smart individuals, but alcohol is a poison and it's allowed. I look around, you can't almost watch a football game without seeing 15 commercials about alcohol or booze or your regular shows or billboards. It's just everywhere and it's accepted. Part of the channel event, you know this, we go to Vegas every year and a lot of times it's a big party for 2 or 3 days. And I'm now blessed to be that guy that's exercised by 7 o'clock in the morning, showered, ready to go, and I'm bright and peppy at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's something I couldn't have said 10 or 12 years ago. A lot of people are struggling at 8 o'clock in the morning in Las Vegas. Not me anymore. I'm feeling good and zippy and
Man,
ready to go, man.
God, man, again, thank you so much for sharing that. Because whether you're listening and you're dealing with that, and if you're not, you surely know someone that is. And I'm a big proponent of counseling and getting help. We get checkups on our hearts and our lungs, but a lot of times we don't think about our head, our mind, our body, our soul needs. We got to check on that sometimes. And whether you're a person of faith, which I am, that's my go-to prayer, meditation level sets me personally. But if not, yeah, talking to someone, someone that's, I could say, even talking to a family member, a friend, but even that's not the same, right? Because you need someone that's not going to, maybe a third party. I don't know. That's my opinion. Unbiased person that's trained, and you can just let it all out, man. But
Well,
wow,
and one thing I want to say is I'm always open to speaking to anyone that is struggling. The thing is this, you can never tell an alcoholic or a drug abuser or whatever you're struggling with in life what to do, how to do. You need to change your life because the challenge is, Chris, that person, that individual struggling with that addiction will not change until they make a decision to change. As much as they're not going to do it for their family, their kids, their mom, their wife, they need to make the decision that they want to be done with it. And until that happens, it's not going to change. So what I try to do is share my story with folks that are struggling, and I don't tell them what to do. I just share my past experience and struggles, and I share my successes and say, there's the door, there's the path. You now have to make that decision.
it's a choice.
It's a choice.
Was it a hard choice? Was it,
Oh,
again? I mean, you said how long in the rehab? 30 days,
30 days in rehab and
a year
then
of
like literally a
counseling.
year of counseling after that. For me, it was not a hard choice. I was mentally done. You have to make a decision. You have to go, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And you have to be at that point. Many people crash and they've lost everything. Many people crash and make that decision when they're still doing okay. Many people crash and they're very successful. But you have to make that decision no matter what point in your life you're at. But when you make that decision, you're ready. It was not a problem for me. I was ready. I
I
wanted to be
bet.
done. I just needed that help. I needed that support system to get me out, get it out of my system, get back on track. And when I was done, Chris, I was done. I remember the bad times so intently. I never want to go back and experience that again.
Man,
And that's my strength.
wow.
I know where
Well,
I've been, and I
well,
know where I don't want to go again.
no, thank you for sharing that. That is
Yeah.
very. I told you when we did our pre-show conversation, inspire, motivate, and educate. Man, if that wasn't inspirational, brother, no, it is. I hope someone listening is inspired by that to either talk to that loved one, that friend. But we all have friends that we look at them at the channel shows and go, man, what? There they go again. Someone go get so and help them get back there, whether it be he or she, or we don't. That's the bad thing. A lot of people just go, not my problem. Good luck with
Mhm.
that. That's a tough one. And I don't know, maybe it's because I'm getting older, been doing this a long time. But I feel like there's definitely a movement of professionals that are giving up drinking. They're for all kind of reasons, whether it be health reasons or it's causing a problem in their life. Even for me, I've been doing a lot of reading on it, and I don't want to have any brain fog, man. I'm trying to stay sharp here, and I don't need
Yeah.
anything getting in my way. And so, yeah, currently, I guess where I'm at in life, if I, not that I need to divulge it, but just, yeah, just sharing. We're sharing here. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a social drinker, but I'll have a couple of a beer or two a week. It used to be 3 or 4 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I was going down the path of, I noticed I started to wobble, man. I was getting in trouble, man. The oil light was coming on, and I'm like, man, I don't want to go there. And so and then I think it was someone said, hey, you should try dry January. This was probably
Mm.
5, 6 years ago. And I'm like, why would I want to go a whole month without drinking? What's the point? But I got it. First of all, it gave me the confidence that I could do it for one. I gave it up for a month, and yeah, it was hard. I was tempted, and you going to parties and everybody's drinking. And it's so funny. I'm sure you get this a lot when someone says, "Hey man, what are you having?" I'll have an iced tea, a
Yes.
lemonade, Long Island. No, a regular iced tea. What's wrong? You okay? There's something wrong? No, I'm good. I'm actually really good.
Yeah.
Do you get that when you tell people you don't drink?
I have no problem sharing what I've struggled with. And the minute you mentioned that, here's the great thing about where we're at today. It's not taboo to talk about this anymore. It's
That's
not
right.
something that people are ashamed to hide, and you shouldn't be ashamed to hide it. I think you should share. And so I just share my story, and
Yeah.
people get it and they go, done. They're
That's right.
just, "Hey, let me get you ginger ale. Let me get you
That's right.
tonic water, and
That's
then
good to
we're
hear.
all good." Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Changing gears a little bit on your
Mhm.
bio, we
Yeah.
didn't really go into pre-technology. What was there a point you can remember going, "Hey, this telecom stuff's pretty cool. I'm gonna do this," or did you stumble into it like most of us did? How did you get into this business?
Stumbled into it. I was working retail back in the late 90s, and a friend of mine who was in retail had got a job selling telecommunications for a local CLEC out of the Central Valley in California. And he just needed some sales guys, and he knew I was top producer at my retail position. And he called me up and said, "Hey, I need a couple of guys. You interested in jumping out of retail?" And I thought, "Hey, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and I got a salary and I
Yes.
commission. Yeah, I could do this." And I remember the first time my boss at that company and knocking doors, going out and actually walking into businesses and asking them for their business was something I'd never done before. And I tell you, it was a little scary at first, but when my first boss and I went out door knocking together and he just started walking in doors and just said, "Hey, I'm Joe with this company. Here's what we do. Who at your company makes that decision?" Bam. I thought, "Oh, I can do that." And from that point forward, I was out knocking doors. And back in those days, Chris, we were selling symmetrical DSL, if you can believe it. It
Ooh.
was like 128 up and 128 down, but it was symmetrical, right?
Ooh,
And it
that's
was,
good. Good
man,
stuff.
bonded T1s, Chris. Yeah, not
Yeah.
just 1.5. We're talking 3 gigs, baby, up and down, guaranteed speeds on bonded T1s. Yeah, that was
Wow.
back in the day. And so that's how I got into it. And I ended up learning that I love technology. I've always loved electronics. As you can see, I have a lot of antique electronics, but I love new electronics. And so it was just a good space for me. And I just attracted it. And I'm here ever since
Yeah.
25 years now, if you can believe it. No,
No, no,
these wrinkles prove that.
Yeah. Hey, if you ever come to Georgia, both my daughters are estheticians, and one of them works at a med spa. They'll do some
Count
Botox
me
for
in.
you.
Count me
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, I mean, not for it, I haven't done anything, but I say, "Hey, what can you about these crow's feet?"
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're pretty much gone.
No
It
kidding.
works. I love it.
Sold.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been doing it a while. And like you, I stumbled into it as well. So thank goodness. I've always loved technology. I've always been curious about in fact, I'm more into what it does and how it does it. I have
Mm,
friends that are a bunch of engineers, and you do as well. The engineers want to know how it works. How does that work? I'm more like, no, I just want to know what it does. How does it make my life easier?
yeah.
how,
Yeah.
how can this add value? And that's been working for me. Okay, so looking back over the last 2 decades or so,
Yeah.
I'm sure you have an opinion on like what's the state of the industry? What's your observations about when you think about where we are as an industry, as a channel, as in technology? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Good question. A few things crossed my mind. Number one, just a little background. So I've been with the last almost 6 years now. I've been at Core Wireless.
Yeah.
Initially, my first 3 years, you brought me over, Chris. So thank you for that. It's been a great career here at Core. So thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
So for those first 3 years, helping Core build a channel team, you started that project here. And then there were some changes. I had the opportunity to move to our connected health team for 2 years. And that was in a direct sales role. So I guess the end of last year, maybe November-ish timeframe, I was asked to come back to the channel here at Core. And so I've been in the channel again for the last 6 months at this point. It's a different channel. We've got a new leadership team. Today, what's different here at Core in the channel is that the internal teams understand the channel today, which is something you and I struggle with, trying to teach and train and motivate internal teams on who the channel is, who partners are, who agents are, how they work, how they understand our services, and how they make a living. That was a struggle. That's not a struggle at Core anymore. That's part of the reason I came back to the team. We're very channel focused. We team with all the direct reps. And so the direct reps are hungry for partner opportunities, and they treat them gingerly and they treat them well. So that's what's really changed here at Core. Overall, what's interesting, Chris, is coming back to the channel post COVID, because I was in the channel here at Core when COVID hit, and all of a sudden everyone was remote, and we had great success regardless of what happened during COVID, without having to go out and visit partners and agents and do events and travel. That all stopped and we went to zero. Today, it's interesting, Chris, the last 6 months is agents now have dispersed. They're all working remote. Offices that I was used to walking into and seeing 12 or 15 different reps in an office, or independent brokers in an office, it's not the world anymore. Those offices are empty. I'm lucky if there's 2 or 3 folks in any given office, even if they have offices. Here's part of the thing is, many of our old, larger agents out in the West, they've closed down their offices. The leases were up and they just shut them down because no one was coming in. Why are they spending $15,000 a month or $10,000 a month for that rent and no one's showing up? So I think the biggest change for me is how to get in front of partners today, so we have valuable conversations, so they see the value in what my product brings to them and how they can make money selling our services. Because it's just the lunch and learns, the dine and dashes, the whatever the events we were doing, they're just not attracting partners anymore. So that's the biggest change. So now it's been a lot of independent individual reach outs, LinkedIn visits, phone calls, emails. So really it's just been interesting trying to figure out the new way to work the channel is what I'm seeing as far as that goes.
You mentioned lunch and learns and events. And you're right. These are old tactics that have been around for a while. And I've always, webinars, a lot of work can go into set up a webinar and you got 5 people
Yeah.
show up. You're like, my feeling is that's better than 0. At least still
Yeah,
5
touches.
You do 5 pitches at one time. That's better
Yeah.
than having to make 5 separate phone calls. Do you have an opinion on what kind of partner engagement activity is most beneficial or most productive? Have you seen
Well,
anything?
I can tell you, when I sit down face to face, there's a difference between having a Teams call or a Zoom call with somebody. You're far away. It makes it tough for us to get together personally. But there is a huge difference when you sit down with somebody and break some bread and have a meal and sit down. And then those discussions tend to be more personal about who is Chris, who is Charlie, who is this agent I'm talking to. And I think that's the difference when you meet someone face to face and you sit with them. It's deeper than the 30-minute or the 45-minute Zoom call, because that really ends up being all business, all conversation about what we need to accomplish to get this customer their services. Whereas you sit down with somebody and it's not always all about business. It's about who you are, who I am. And I think that's the difference. So for me, it's when I get a chance or an opportunity to sit with somebody personally, break some bread, have some coffee in an environment that's not a work environment. It really, that personalized touch is huge. So I
Yeah.
love that aspect of what we do. And trying to find that more often, I think, is where we're going to find success in this channel.
No, we always say it's about the relationship. It's always about the relationship. So in these conversations you're having, of course, you know me, wireless way, I love IoT. What are you talking about the most when it comes to the area of IoT technology and connectivity? Is there a common thread or is it all over the map?
Well, great question. Look, if you go back to 5 years ago, every new technology has a boom, right? It becomes the buzzword and the hot topic, and everyone wants to learn about it. Today, it's AI. 5 years ago, it was IoT. 7 years ago, it was SD-WAN. So every time there's this
Part of
new
that
boom, there's
cloud.
the cloud, right? So those times are exciting when that happens. And that happened for us in IoT many years ago. And back then we were talking about trash cans that opened automatically or would notify the maintenance teams, or we're talking about connected this or connected that, connected chairs in retail. All of this stuff was connected. And I think the excitement of that was fun and every agent was interested because it was a hot topic. I think the challenge is that that appeal is gone, right? Now AI is the newest buzzword and everyone's talking about AI and what to do there. So the difference today in my world in the IoT space is we have to have not just connectivity, it's got to be a solution. So today we focus on sourcing equipment, purpose-built equipment. We focus on connecting that equipment with connectivity, and we focus on delivering a complete solution to our end users. So it's not about just a sim, some odd science project that needs connectivity. That literally science projects don't pay money because they take years often, and sometimes they fizzle out because they are just that, a science project. Whereas when we deliver solutions, we bring value to our partners, their customers, make them look good, and everyone wins in those situations.
So when it comes to, for partners that are winning deals and making money, what tell me about the last few wins you've had. What did they look like? Protect the innocent and keep the names out of it. What where are people winning and earning the commissions and the money?
Yeah. It's about solutions. Right now, we've been winning with purpose-built devices, especially in the healthcare space. Most folks don't know this. We have $100 million a year healthcare business practice here at Core, thriving, booming. In healthcare, there are remote patient monitoring solutions being delivered today by all of the healthcare organizations, whether it's a Kaiser Permanente out here in the West or Baylor Health in Texas, whatever the healthcare organization is, they're delivering these remote patient monitoring solutions. What that is, Chris, is if someone goes in for a surgery or some sort of term post-acute, long-term issue they need help with, when they're released from the hospital, they are sent home with a kit. That kit would be a gateway. They used to send Samsung tablets or iPads with them and all these peripherals. And what that kit would do is basically that patient or participant could have a visit with their doctor in their home with all the tools that you'd expect to see in a doctor's office, except they have them in their home. And what that is ideal for, Chris, is for especially hospitals need to avoid what's called readmittance. If you go to have a large surgery at a hospital and you're released and within 2 or 3 weeks you have to be readmitted because something didn't heal right and they have to open you up and do that surgery again, it's not any cheaper the second time around, Chris. So say that first surgery was $300,000. Well, the second time is going to be $300,000. So what happens is when they go to bill the insurance companies or the Medicare Medi-Cal, what's going to happen is they're going to get a veto on the second surgery or the second admittance because they're going to say, look, we paid you once. If the patient didn't heal, it's on you. You're going to have to eat that other $300,000. So to avoid that, they're sending home these kits to ensure patients are healing properly. Or if something's going sideways, fever starts kicking in, they'll get notifications. They'll know it's happening and they'll bring that patient in and get ahead of it before they have to get into a big major surgery. So that's called RPM. Where we're winning big is the challenge with using consumer grade devices. No offense to Samsung and iPads, they're fantastic. I have an iPad, I love it. Samsungs are great, but the challenge is they are really meant for consumers. You can't go out and buy a new iPhone and think you've got the latest and greatest because within 3 months they'll have one that's even better than the last one you got. 3 months, literally, right? Every 3 to 6 months there's a new iPhone, iPad, latest, greatest, right? That's fantastic for you and I if you want to have the greatest technology in a phone or a tablet, but it's not great for a business, Chris. Imagine a business, Chris, that buys 1,000 tablets, and within a year, that tablet now is end of life. It doesn't exist anymore and needs firmware updates. And those updates happen when it's least expected or least wanted, and they often cause crashes. So now imagine you have a patient in the field with a kit. They have an iPad or a Samsung, gets a firmware update, and now their RPM kit does not work. That could be tragic, cost hospitals thousands of dollars. Worse than that, it could affect someone's personal lives and their health. We work with a company called Social Mobile, which builds purpose-built devices. These devices, they don't have any bloatware. They're an they're Google Gold certified Android devices. So they're certified by Google. And these devices are purpose-built. They have a minimum shelf life of 3 years, support for 5 to 8 years is from what I've seen to date. So now you can basically support your healthcare customers, trucking companies that use tablets, right, with these purpose-built devices that will last out in the field for 3, 5, 8 years without having to be refreshed every 2 to 3 years because the devices are just end of life. Or if there's a huge market in certified pre-owned devices where companies are buying bits and pieces and patching together devices. They're a great value as far as cost goes, but in the long run, they're very expensive because say you buy 1,000 of this Apple iPad version X1, 2, and then you find another certified pre-owned that batch of devices, 500 of these devices, version 3, 400 of these devices. Now you have a mix and mash of devices and equipment in your inventory that don't make sense. Whereas if you go with a purpose-built device, Chris, now that healthcare organization has a single device. They can keep finding those devices for years to come, buying new ones. They don't have to refresh every year. And they've got a device that is the same with all of their users in the organization. So it's huge cost savings, literally millions of dollars. And where we're winning, Chris, is our current customers are literally refreshing all of their old certified pre-owned devices or iPads or Samsungs with social mobile devices that are purpose-built and will only do what they want it to do for the next 3 to 5 years and longer from what we see.
And a lot of the iPads and Samsung consumer tablets have a lot of features and technologies that a business really doesn't need. So they're paying a premium. So oftentimes, not only is it purpose built, but it's probably more cost effective and budget friendly. Is that a fair statement?
That's absolutely. They're budget friendly. They're probably a third of the cost, half the cost sometimes than your Samsung and iPads out there. The other thing is what you talked about is bloatware. Whenever you get the latest greatest phone, right? What happens is there's all these apps on there that you'll never use. You can't delete them. But what no one realizes is they're actually eating up memory behind the scenes
And battery life.
and battery life, and your phone doesn't work that long. So imagine get rid of that called bloatware. So now you don't have any bloatware on these devices. So the batteries last longer, the devices last longer. You don't have to worry about any of those things eating up memory. They work better. They're more efficient. They're purpose built.
When you say social mobile, are they really meant to be replacements for smartphones and smart tablets? Or are there other devices like maybe point of sale? Or you see a lot of people, a lot of restaurants now taking orders on Toast and Clover devices, Zebra devices. Do they do anything beyond a smartphone and a tablet?
They're working on a couple things. They're working on smartwatches, right,
Okay.
for the healthcare
Okay.
space that will do more than what your iWatch will do. They're working on dongles, right? Plug-in dongles. That's a space that I think has been neglected for years. Just a dongle that'll have a SIM card in it, and you can plug it in and out of different devices as you need connectivity. So they are working on other devices. Now,
Cool.
keep in mind, these are not replacements for iPhones and Samsung. They're not consumer grade devices. They're not made to make phone calls. They're not made for the consumer. These are strictly purpose built for business use only.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, you see a lot of in inventory and logistics, and everything's scanning the barcodes or the QR codes. A lot, yeah, you don't need a $800, $1,000 device to do that. You just need something with a basic. And you said there are Androids, so you can load an MDM on them as well. Imagine, right?
Absolutely. And that's part of the services we offer at Core. We work with all the top MDM services, Manage Engine, SOTI, IBM Mass, Winnable, right? So we can load that device with the MDM services, load it with customers' applications, make sure it works, has connectivity, because that's what we do as an MVNO. We provide connectivity. We'll make sure the device works globally. We sell these devices around the world. And with our Super SIM, they will connect around the world with a single SKU, single IMSI core SIM, which is also added value. Again, it's a complete solution that we're offering, Chris, and that's the value we bring to our customers. We're not just a lot of competitors in our space only do connectivity. We don't just do connectivity. We provide complete solutions here at Core.
Did I understand correctly? You guys have a voice offering now? They're like a voice over IP type solution?
So not Core directly, but look, any device that has a SIM card connectivity, voice can be converted to data
Mm-hmm.
via WhatsApp, if
Yeah.
there's other VoIP applications.
Yeah.
So that, in essence, could become a voice solution. And that's
Got it.
what most applications in the healthcare space use when they're having a visit with a patient and a doctor. That patient will have their social mobile device in their home. They can have a phone call because there's a camera in there. They can have that conversation, but it's all digital. It's not traditional analog
Right.
services.
I'd be curious to know if someone should survey. I could do a survey, a poll, but of all the voice conversations you have on your smart device, how many of them are actually over the PTSN? How many are actually over the switch network? Or you dial a phone number? It's always even FaceTime. My granddaughter FaceTimes me all the time, and There's no phone number there. It's FaceTime. Even right now, we're talking over a database solution, whether it be I got Zoom and Teams and all that. Yes, it's really interesting to see where the future goes when it comes to mobile voice solutions. I definitely think
Yeah.
we're seeing this pivot maybe, but
Digital. Everything's digital. Everything's data.
man. So, is there anything else that we need to talk about, Charlie? Anything we haven't mentioned, or any last words you want to give us?
I think there's a lot of competition in our space, in the IoT space. And what I want to do is simplify what we do for our partners out there and let them understand a couple of things, right? You can come to us not just for connectivity. We're not just a SIM provider. We're not just an IoT provider. We are a solutions company. We want to be the trusted advisor to ensure that when you bring us your opportunities, we'll ensure that we bring a solution to the table, a device, connected device, MDM services if needed, deployment services. We can also do third-party logistics where we'll deploy these kits completely working to the end users, whether it's a distribution center that will redistribute these devices or whether it's to the actual participants or patients, like actual individual users. We'll ship directly to those users. And the other side of that is we do the reverse logistics. So we'll also return those devices. Those are things that we offer that I think our competition can't touch. The complete logistics, full life cycle services here at Core.
Wow, that's a good one to leave on. Yeah, that's mobile devices are not going away. They're just becoming more and more prevalent. Again, you going back to the restaurants, obviously healthcare too. You go to the doctor, instead of signing in on a clipboard, you're punching away on a tablet, checking in. Everything is going to be a tablet. Clipboards are going away. Even the small restaurants on I travel, I'm seeing more and more of the orders being taken on these handheld devices. You go to the big box, Home Depot, Lowe's, they're checking inventory on a handheld device without having to run back to the computer terminal.
Have
So
you ever been in a retail store where they're checking you out with a tablet, so you don't even have to go to the register?
I'm
Just
seeing that more and more.
the world is changing and technology is a part of it. And jump on board. It's fun. It makes things easier, and Core can help.
Excellent. Charlie, thank you so much for making time today. It's been a great conversation. We covered a lot. If you're listening, definitely check the show notes, some links to learn more about Core. And if you need to contact Charlie and the team he's with, I'll have that information in the show notes, man. Thanks so much. It's been, as always, a pleasure. And I'm so glad we got to do this.
Thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate it. I'm honored to be here. Thank you again for the
Yeah,
invitation.
man. Honor's all mine, brother. There you go, folks. Another episode of The Wireless Way. And as always, if you heard something that kind of hit home, it made you think about a customer, a prospect, or maybe a colleague, please share this episode with them and check out thewirelessway.net. It's a website where you can hit the contact us button and send any feedback, input, suggestions, recommendations. Love to hear from you and how we can make this show better for you. So once again, thanks so much. So grateful you joined us today, and I'll talk to you next time on The Wireless Way.